Hello and welcome to the Art Hitman. I'm Perry McCants and today I'm going to show you how to draw Daredevil from the Netflix series. Let's get started. As usual, let's start our page by dividing in half as I do on all my videos. And once you've divided your page in half, you can go ahead and begin starting to figure out where on the page you want him to be. So let's come down about an inch and we're going to draw an oval shape. The oval shape is going to be somewhat lopsided or not straight on, but he's going to be like 3/4. So let's get his head angled this way. And I'll put a line right here so that you can see which way his head's going to be shaped or which way he's going to be looking at you. Divide his head in half by putting a line right here. This is how you know where his eyes are going to be. So we can go ahead and put the temple line in. Now, once you have the oval shape in and these lines representing where you want his eyes to be, what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and put his neck in. So go ahead and just put a oval shape right underneath his head. Immediately after that, we're going to measure his head with the index and the thumb. And then we're going to move down to the chest. And then move down to where his waist is going to be. Okay, so what you want to do at that point, you want to draw a line here and a line for his waist. Then come back to where his neck is, where we put this nice oval shape here. We're going to put a large oval for his torso, just like this. It's going to end about where this line is, where we have the other part of the bottom portion of the waist. Once you have that roughed in, we're going to go ahead and angle his shoulders and just put a circle right here for his left shoulder. And then what we're going to do, we're going to put a cylinder for his bicep and tricep. And put a circle for his elbow. The elbow is going to be about where his waist is. If you notice, this comes right where his waist is. And then we're going to have a line come out for his forearm right about here. Now, just to measure his wrist is going to be about where his shoulder is. So let's go ahead and put a line there. That's how we can measure those two. Put a circle for his wrist. And we'll sketch his forearm in. Right to where his elbow is. If you notice, I brought a curve around like this and matched it where the circle is here. Do the same thing for the outside of his wrist and forearm and come around. At this point, we're lightly sketching in the figure. Bring his shoulder in a little bit, minor detail, not too much, because we don't want to forget where key muscles are. And the reason why I'm doing his forearm or his left arm like this is because it's the one that's closest to us, and we don't want to later on in the drawing lose touch where things are going to be in place. So right now I'm sketching his fist in. If you notice, I have a square. And what you want to do is simply put a square in here, and this is just going to be blocked in the meantime for where his fist is going to be. Now, we're going to jump onto the other side of his body. I call this drawing through the figure. So we're going to draw from this side to this side. And the way we do that is just take a line and draw it in the access line right there. If you notice, right where his eye is going to be his shoulder. So we're going to sketch that in. And you want to be able to see that through his body. And then what's going to happen is we're going to be able to measure from this shoulder to the elbow. And we're going to take that and move over here, raise it, and we're going to come out to about here. So his elbow should come out right past the fist just a little bit. So I'm going to put a light circle here for later so that we don't forget that this is where his elbow is going to be. And then put a line right here for his bicep and tricep. Now, after we put this shape in where his waist and all and his back is going to be, we'll put two lines here for his waist. And it's going to go right off the page because we're not going to see the rest of his body. This is a waist high drawing. And then this is where his chest is going to be, where we had the line indicated earlier. Now, we can go ahead and jump on his head and his facial features and his mask. Now, for his face, we're going to go ahead and start out with the exterior. So we can come out with the edge. We're going to come down where his eye line is, bring an edge out, come into the line, just like that. And then out of that line at the bottom is going to be his cheek line. It's going to come down just like this. And we're going to put his chin in. Now where this temple line is, we're going to go past that a little bit and put his jawline in. And it's going to come in just like this. So right now you should have the outside of his the right side of his face in, his bottom of his jaw, and then the temple line right here. Now we're going to go ahead and put his eyes in. Now for his eyes, we're just going to put a line right here. And of course he's wearing a mask, so you can go ahead on and just put eyes in without an iris or any detail like that, because he's wearing a mask and you don't see that. And bring this around like this and then close it. Now for his right eye, we're not going to see as much. It's going to be slightly smaller because it's going back into space. So we're going to just put that in as light as we can. And we're going to put a bridge of the nose in. Now right where his cheek is where his mask is going to start. So we're going to come down about here for his nose, come over. And then there's a pinch here right about where his cheek is. We're going to come down right here. Now for his nose, we're going to come just under his mask and kind of create a little hint of the nose and then put his nostril in right here. Just a line. You don't have to do too much. And then for the mask, we're going to put the line of the mask in right there. Now his mouth is going to be right below that. And I want him to have a smirk because Daredevil is usually smiling in pain while he's fighting. He's somewhat like Batman. He does a lot of vigilante fighting. And he's usually in a lot of pain. And you'll see him smiling from time to time because he's smiling to let it be known that he's not going to let the pain defeat him. So if you notice, I put a little line here straight across and have a little smirk that comes out on the corner. Bring his bottom part of his mouth in. Just like that. And then come up underneath his chin to create the bottom part of his mouth. And go ahead and close this front part a little bit. Alright, now for his forehead, you're going to come up a little bit and there's a piece that comes around like this. Now his mask has compartments to it because the Netflix version is a bit more detailed. So I'm going to put a line here. If you notice, I have the center line. And it's going to be somewhat technical and I'm going to walk you through it. Come down and you want to come in the center to his nose right here. It's a little piece that comes down like this. His mask is very interesting and it's designed in such a way that I want to make sure that as we're drawing and doing this how-to tutorial that we get the Netflix mask right. So right after that, he has a piece that comes in and goes up to the temple line and comes around to the side like this. Then it's going to come in. Okay, so it's kind of like a puzzle. So if you follow what I'm doing, it's not difficult. If you follow it step by step as what I'm doing, you'll be able to do the same thing. And then come up underneath this side and do it just like this. And then close this part of the mask off on the other side, his right side. Now for the top portion of his mask or head, we're going to put a line in here. And then is a temple line that comes right off of here and goes to the back of his head just like this. Now his horns are going to come right off of this line just above this piece right here. I'm going to bring the horn up, his devil horns. And you can go a little darker with this one so it sticks out a little bit more. And then come on this side and repeat the same process. Now this one is going to come off the edge of his head a little bit more. You'll be able to see it. It's a little bit more prominent right here. And do just like that. And we're going to fill in the rest of his head here. Make sure it's rounded off nice. I'm going to come off this back side of his head. Now he has an earpiece that's covering a part of a mask here. And it goes off the back side of his head like this. And it's going to meet on this side. Now right up underneath this portion of his eye, it comes around over here and wrap around to the back of his neck. So there's a line that you want to see me put right here really quick, and it's going to come down like this. And of course he's wearing a collar, so we want to put that collar in where his neck is. And just stop it right there at the base. Alright, so now we can begin. It's going to fill in a little bit of his body here. And from here, we're going to go ahead and work on his left hand. So I'm going to zoom in on this side. So for his left hand, usually when I'm constructing a hand, I want it to be a teaching moment. So we're going to take 4 circles, 1, 2, 3, and have it recede on an arc. So if you notice, I have them receding on an arc-like shape. And then the thumb is always usually about here, and you take a circle and put it there. And then out of that, it's going to be a line that comes around just like this. His index finger is grabbing something. So we're going to bring that index finger around and close it off like that. His middle finger is going to come around, and then his ring finger and pinky finger is going to recede. Then it's going to go into the wrist, just like this. Bring the wrist out and just come around like that. And we're going to fill this in and bring the rest of his fist in. Now he's going to be holding his Kempo sticks. So we're going to bring up a line just like this, just past his head a little bit. Now when we're doing this exercise, we want it to look like he's holding something. So the way I have his thumb positioned, you want it to look like it's actually going around and behind the stick. And then his index finger is going to be holding it here. And we're going to draw through his hand and do the same thing here as lightly as you can. Don't go too heavy. It'd be hard to get rid of this line later if you press too hard. So we have him holding his Kempo stick in his left hand. And it's rough right now, and we just want to get the structuring part of it down right now. So for his right shoulder, I'm going to go ahead and come in and put his forearm in. And his elbow is going to be right here. Now the rest of his hand is going to be in between the bottom of his chin. So we'll put like a square here. We're going to angle it. Okay, so we've done the structure of the left hand. Now we're going to do the right hand. We're going to repeat the same process by putting 4 circles in. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. And then you're going to have a line that comes out of each one of them. Of course, the pinky is going to be the smallest finger. The index finger is going to come out almost like he's pointing. If you notice, I have a point here and it goes back. Put a circle here. And then we're going to have his thumb come around just like this. It's just literally a oval shape that kind of goes around the bottom of his fist. Now for his hand itself, we're going to rough that in, and it's going to go into his wrist here. If you see that I have the wrist going through this and connecting here. So you can see the arm structure here and his forearm here. Okay, so we're going to do the same thing here. Now what we want to do for this part is we want to measure the Kempo sticks. I'm going to take my index and thumb, and this makes it a bit better. And you want to bring it right there. So where this finger is, if you notice, I'm going to come underneath the back side of my finger and then take my thumb and mark it right there. So this is where I know how long the Kempo stick needs to be. So I'm going to bring it up right there, draw through the hand, stop it here. Now this is important when you're drawing, because now you're learning how to do structural drawing, which requires you to kind of have elements that you need to add when the figure is holding something or doing a pose, and it's somewhat complicated. But once you learn how to actually do the steps that I'm doing here, it won't be any problem, because it'll be more of an exercise of practice. So let's come to the top and draw a cylinder here. Close that off. And it doesn't have to be perfect, guys. Remember, we're sketching here and lightly putting the figure in so that later on when we go to finish, everything is in place. And that's what the point of these tutorials are, so that you can put structural drawings down, rough it all in, and then in the end you can clean up any mistakes or make it look as nice as you want, because this is a rough draft. Okay, so now we're going to come around to the arm. and then put his back blade in here and then come around for his waist. If you notice, I've drawn through most of his body and proportions, and this is learning how to overlap certain parts of the form so that you can learn how to make more complicated poses without it being too difficult. All right, now for above his eye, he does have kind of like a feature that comes around and then goes under, and do the same thing here. Almost like he has a mask that is etched to make a certain frown. Okay, so now at this point, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and put some of the details from the show in. So we already got his mask in detail here. He has straps that goes over his shoulders, like so. And then a little piece that comes in like this. Now when I'm doing this, I'm going to really take my time in explaining certain details so that it matches the show of what the outfit looks like on the show itself. So let's bring another strap in here. And I'm going to draw through this and put it here. So his chest is going to be about right under his fist. I'm going to bring that in and around like this. And we're not going to see a lot of it, but just enough that it makes sense. Right underneath this on his waist, he has a piece that comes in just under that over his abs. It's like a protective covering that he's wearing, like not an armor, but a body, exo body, like kind of like if a person was wearing a bulletproof vest or something like that for protection, absorb shocks and punches and things. On his forearm, we're going to put a line here and then another one here. Now for this left shoulder, we're going to see a little bit more of his outfit, so this should help us. Come around like this and then close it off right at the base of where this muscle goes and go off the edge. And we're going to come in, and in the middle of that, we're going to close this off. And then what's going to happen is the top actually closes by itself. There's a curve here at the top. And right here at the base. And we're going to put a little circle here. It's almost like this is a button and it's a snap that snaps that closed on his shoulder. And in between that, there's going to be a dark space here. So we're going to leave this alone. So for his forearm, we're going to go ahead and put his forearm muscle in. And then out of that, there's a line that comes down here and separates the two. And then there's a line that comes over like this, up on a curve. Then he has elbow guards on in case he falls, so we're going to bring a line straight across like this and go down and repeat that shape. So when I say repeat that shape, we're just mimicking this top part and then going and doing the same thing here. And then for the elbow, we're going to come in and put a cap on it to make it look like it's protruding off of his elbow. And then for his forearm, he has these neat forearm guards, and I love them. But they just kind of repeat. There's a line that goes like this and around. I'm going to put another one here. And then this one has a little curve that comes up and around. And then do it one more time, like that. And his wrist, of course, he's able to move his wrist in here, so we won't bother that. Do the same thing for this side. We'll just put two lines here to indicate that. And we'll put a line here like this. The back portion of them is not as important, but you want to have some level of detail. So for here, we're going to have this come off of his waist and then repeat the same shape here. And what looks like this could be a snap, like a button snap. That's what I'll call it. And then, of course, for his waist, which is going to go right off the page, so it's not as important, he has oblique lines that protects his rib cage. Comes over and meets right about here. So we're going to put that line in there. Then we're going to put two lines here. We're going to close this off. And then, of course, we're going to finish with the belt. The belt is very simple. I'm going to sketch that in. We're going to put one line here, and we're going to put a slant here to make it a little slick looking. But that's kind of what it does. And then just have two lines for his legs go right off the page. And then you can just have two more lines to kind of indicate the rest of his outfit. Now let's go back on his left fist and go ahead and complete that. He has lines that come in here like this. Because he's wearing gloves, we want to show that he's wearing gloves. So he has over this thumb part right here, we're going to actually close that off. And it's a little rough right now, but I'll clean it up in the end. And then we're going to come across this fist like this to cover it. And then come over like that. And of course around his neck this comes down like this. And there's another piece that comes over like this here. Alright, now if you've drawn and sketched and did a structural drawing along with me up to this point, you have just drawn Daredevil from the Netflix series. And what I usually do at this point is I time lapse and go ahead and clean it all up and make it look much more clearer. And at the end you could take a look at it and study it and pause it if you need to catch up and things like that.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe by clicking this round button at the bottom. Also, click one of the 2 videos at the top. Please like this video, tell a friend, and share it on Facebook. Thank you.
The Art Hitman.